the Lions analysis for the 2020 NFL season. Welcome back to the Buster Boom series. If you're new, make sure to stay tuned for more shocking news. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another Buster Boom video. If you guys are new, this is the Buster Boom series where we talk about and analyze each NFL team for the 2020 NFL season. And subscribe if you're new. We do sports content. Today, we're doing the Lions, so we will be talking about their key players, their free agency, and their draft, and then give what we think their overall record would be. And yeah, it's the Lions. Let's get straight into it with key players. So, obviously, number one, the franchise quarterback for a long time, Matt Stafford. And this year, obviously, he was injured for a good bit of the season, I would say. They had to put in David Blau, not the quarterback that the Lions wanted necessarily. But in 2019, Matt Stafford still threw for 1 yard short of 2,500 yards, threw for 19 touchdowns, which is good, and only 5 interceptions, as well as having a passer rating of 106, which is good for a quarterback that's been injured for a decent bit of time. And I really like Matt Stafford because Matt Stafford isn't that, and Dylan, we were talking about this earlier, isn't that quarterback that's like, all flashy and is going to win MVP and is going to, do, incredible stuff. But he's a solid quarterback that you can trust to be a starter in the NFL, win games, and throw accurate passes to receivers. So I think Matt Stafford is a good quarterback in the Lions. If he's healthy next year, him and Kenny Golladay is a really, really good pair for that team.
What I really like about Matt Stafford is that he is very consistent in what he does. He doesn't try to change how he plays because of the trends in the NFL. Right now it's a rushing trend in the NFL, and some of the less athletic quarterbacks are trying to adapt to it. Matt Stafford knows what he does well. He knows he's good at launching the ball and playing a bit of check down football. He might not have been the number one best player in that 2010 draft where he was selected, 2009, but he is definitely a top quarterback in the NFL, and there's no reason the Lions should have to move on from him anytime soon. Moving on to Kenny Golladay, he is one of the top receivers in the NFL. He's caught for over 1,000 yards in 2 straight seasons, ridiculous numbers. No one expected him to be this good. When he was drafted onto the Detroit Lions, he was expected to be a number 2 receiver at best. He has turned into one of the best receivers in the NFL. I think it has something to do with his connection with Matt Stafford, but it also is a lot of talent on his part because with David Blau last year, he caught a lot of touchdowns as well. He is versatile. He can catch short balls. He can go up for a long pass, and he's really dominant.
I mean, Kenny Golladay, not only a really good receiver, also a really good fantasy receiver, unexpected receiver, catching for close to 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns, which I believe was the most from a receiver or tied with the most. And that's
kind of outstanding.
Especially for having, as you said, Matt Stafford injured for a good bit of the year and having David Blau not the quarterback you want throwing to you. That just shows that he's versatile and is able to catch balls from whoever. He's a big receiver and kind of overshadowed Marvin Jones for that number 1 spot, and I think he deserves it. He's younger and is just better at catching the ball. So, Kenny Golladay is going to be a good receiver for a while. And the only, question I have is if this Lions team doesn't, gain players, if Kenny Golladay becomes a really good receiver, is he going to ask for a ton of money and maybe ask for a trade to go to a better team to, bring his talents into the playoffs or possibly to Super Bowl championship? But Kenny Golladay, I mean, what a receiver he will be, and I'm going to love to watch him this year. I think this year is going to be a really, really, really exciting year for him if Matt Stafford obviously isn't injured.
Trey Flowers, very interesting player for Detroit Lions. He was a staple in the Patriots' Super Bowl wins in 2014 and 16. He was a very important piece of that defensive line. He decided to come over to Detroit with Matt Patricia because he recognized the defense. He has not underperformed. He has been the best player on this defense other than Darius Slay, who's not there anymore, for the past 2 years. He was a great free agency signing for quite cheap, actually, and I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a Pro Bowl appearance next year, if he's all pro. He's one of the best defensive tackles in the league.
Now into our next segment where we talk about free agency. So, free agent signing number 1, cornerback Desmond Trufant from the Atlanta. Obviously, after losing Darius Slay to in a trade for 3rd and 5th round pick to the Eagles. And Desmond Trufant, I think, people are saying, yeah, whatever. Jeff Okudah's starting. Desmond Trufant, nobody cares about. But Desmond Trufant was good last year. He had 4 interceptions, 18 tackles, which isn't great, but that's good. More than most cornerbacks. Desmond Trufant obviously has seen better days, I would say. But for a cornerback that the Lions pick up, I think this is a good pickup. I think Desmond Trufant's going to be, I'm assuming, number 2, just because of how good and the volume of Jeff Okudah's play. But still, you can trust him to get interceptions. That's something you need in a corner, to be able to get the ball back to Matt Stafford and in the hands of Kenny Golladay. So Desmond Trufant here is a good signing.
Desmond Trufant is definitely an experienced corner. He's past his prime, but he's experienced, and he's not just a player that's coming in to mentor Jeff Okudah, as a lot of people have been saying. He is there to win football games. He's not there to coach the younger players. He is a very talented player still, past his prime, sure, but not useless in the back. On the offensive side of free agency, they signed Halapulavati Vatai.
Yes, I pronounced that correctly.
Look it up. He is an offensive tackle from the Philadelphia Eagles. He won the Super Bowl with them, and he is very strong. I'll tell you that. His combine, his bench press was ridiculous. On that offensive line with Taylor Decker and Frank Ragnow, it's a good offensive line, and it's what they need to protect Matt Stafford. Very good pickup, not too much money.
Now, I agree that it's a good pickup. I think he's a very, very strong offensive lineman, but the money, 5-year, $45 million with a $7 million bonus for not, I don't think, a starting offensive lineman, which he will be in the Lions, I'm assuming. $20 million guarantee, annual salary of $9 million. That's a lot of money for an offensive lineman who's not a starter. So I think he's got to play well. If he doesn't play well, that's a waste of a solid player that they otherwise could have signed beside him. But obviously, Matt Stafford gets sacked an insane amount of time. That's been a very big contributor to his injuries. So you need to have, the best offensive line you can around him, and obviously they didn't have that last year because of his injury. So I think Vitae, he's going to be good, and he's got to play like that for the money. And I know, whatever about, it's not always about the money, but it is here. You got to play well if you're getting paid that much.
Moving on, another defensive player in free agency, Jamie Collins, former Cleveland Browns and New England Patriot, another staple in the Matt Patricia defense, who decided to come over to his Detroit side. I don't understand why he did it. He's a starting player for a solid team in the NFL, and he comes over to take the best middle linebacker spot for a below-average team. He's not going to make the playoffs for the rest of his career if he stays in Detroit, unless they do something ridiculous. But I don't know why Jamie Collins would go over to a mediocre team like Detroit.
Let's go to our next one where we talk about the NFL draft. So Jeff Okudah, and what a player he is. Junior last year, but was by far the best corner in football from Ohio State. And I think, getting drafted number 3 is definitely well-deserved. He obviously is a corner that the Lions need after trading Darius Slay, and Desmond Trufant's not going to be that corner for a long time, so they need a long, good lockup corner. So I'd say this is a good cornerback for a while. Last year at Ohio State, 3 interceptions, 28 tackles. He's a good cornerback, and his footwork is insane. He can lock up players. So Jeff Okudah, he's going to be there for a while, and you got to watch out for him in that Lions division. He's going to show out next year for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Jeff Okudah was the correct pick. I could have seen them taking Isaiah Simmons, but they had already gotten Jamie Collins as a linebacker. Okuda is definitely the right pick. He's a very talented corner. I think you said most of what has to be said about him. His footwork is ridiculous. Their second pick was DeAndre Swift. If you saw our video on the top 5 NFL draft busts, we had him at second. I don't think he is a bad player. I think he is on the wrong team. He is not fit for this team at all. They already have a starting running back. They're a pass-first team, and DeAndre Swift is more of a power running back than a catching back. I don't think it makes sense that they drafted him as high as they did. He is definitely a good player if he gets the starting spot, and I am wrong about him. I might be. I don't know. But I wouldn't have picked him there. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, injuries obviously is already a problem in that Lions team. Obviously, their starting running back, Kerryon Johnson, got injured early in the season, and DeAndre Swift has problems with injury.
He does.
Just known. So, last year averaging, he had above 1,200 yards, which is really good, 8 touchdowns, and that's really good. So if DeAndre Swift can stay healthy, I think this pick is good, but I don't think he's going to stay healthy. Already that offensive line still isn't at its most pristine stage. And yeah, pass first team. They have Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones. So DeAndre Swift, first of all, isn't a starting running back. He's in a system where they're not run first. So it's not looking too great for him. I think this first year, sub 500 yards, maybe 2, 3, 4 touchdowns. So I think, if Kerryon Johnson moves on or they decide to start him and then maybe get more running, then yeah, DeAndre Swift should be good. But injuries is affected him in college, and if it affects him in the NFL, that's gonna completely decide his career. And if you're injured in the NFL and you're already not a starting running back, you're just set up for defeat. So DeAndre Swift, not the best pick for now, but always these kind of picks, they can go well, and maybe in 10 years he becomes the best running back in the league, and we're like, wow, we should have said
that was bad.
Otherwise. But records. So Dylan, what's your record prediction?
I'm going to say 4-12 because they are a offensive powerhouse in terms of players with a defensive coach who doesn't pay attention to them. So their offensive tactics don't make sense in any way. And their defense, the players aren't so good. So it'll be hard to know.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I think this year not another good year for them. I think 5-11 for me, maybe good year 6 and 10.